Tonight is the 19th of Av, if I'm not mistaken, which means that next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, is going to be Rav Moshe Zuriel's first yahrzeit. He already passed away a year ago. Okay, he passed away while we were having shir. By the way, you guys remember that? I think it was a Thursday night. Could be mistaken. I'm not. I don't have a calendar in front of me. So Rav Suriel, really, they stopped the Avelis for him, even though he said not to have Avelis, but that was a story we rehashed a few times. His the 12 months ended a month ago. Why? Because of a leap year. There were two others. So it's been 13 months since its passing. Okay. Now, Rav Zuriel was very much opposed to the Hitnatkut. What was the Hitnatkut? The Gaza disengagement. And next week, we're going to see a tshuva of his regarding how to deal with those soldiers who obeyed orders when they were not supposed to and were involved in the Hitnatkut. We considered them to be sinners. And he asked the question, people asked him the question, are they allowed to be involved with minyanim? Can you count them to a minyan of 10? And he talked about how it was very important for them to find the people whom they had wronged and apologize and try to make it up to them, because Jews have to know sometimes you're not supposed to just do what you're being told to do. Okay?
Referring to commanders or
commanders, soldiers, anybody.
Like jail or let's say.
Yeah, the people. Yeah, sometimes look, you're supposed to give your life to keep certain forms of Torah. You're not allowed to destroy Eretz Yisrael. Okay, and you have to know when to say no. So these people, they have to somehow get forgiveness. We're going to read the entire tshuva, God willing, next week. Now, here was the question that was put forward here: Ha'im yeshlam kol lamivatzeim shel hitnatkut. Ha'im yeshna mechila l'chol ele she'asku bagirush. Okay, we have to forgive them. So, or anybody who was involved in the evacuation of Gaza. So, Rav Zuriel was dealt with the question. He compared it to the situation of Joseph's brothers when they requested forgiveness of him. Did they even request forgiveness? And he brings different opinions. Like I said, next week we'll see it inside. But he points out that the shot that he's working with is that, unfortunately, Joseph's brothers never actually asked him for forgiveness outright. Instead, they said, your father said that you should forgive us because they did something bad, but they themselves didn't come and admit it. And even then, we don't see in Joseph's words necessarily that he did forgive them. He continues, and I'll show you over here. Also, when they asked of Joseph to forget what had happened to him, Talu et zeh kavyachol birtzon Abba. They hung it. They premised it on what their father had wanted. They said, your father had commanded before he died, saying, Yosef, please forgive your brothers. And Yosef, by the way, Rabbi Suriel says, it's obvious that Yosef knew that not to be true. Because if Jacob really wanted Joseph to forgive his brothers and ask such a thing, he would have said it himself on his deathbed. It says Joseph came to Jacob twice before he died. And he was the one who was there. They did not display terrible pain from their, own perspective. It wasn't, they did it. Their father asked them to do it. They also sent someone else to take their place. It says they sent, by the way, who did they send to speak? Okay, various midrashim. The Bnei Bilhah, or Bilhah herself, or someone else, whoever it was. Kolomar, Maasei Tiksi Yavesh. This dry formality, this ceremony, okay? Reik min tochen amiti. Says there was an apology put out by some rabbanim or whoever. He says it's actually empty of real content. Vadai binyaninu, the vakashat mechila kazo yesh l'sarev. For a puny request of forgiveness like this, you refuse. V'shema aydezeh yashuvu b'tshuva chelek me'amegarashim achzarim. And perhaps through this, some of those cruel chasers away, some of the ones who actually, perform this action, will repent. Yeah, well, the posers, whatever, they were the ones in the Megarashim. They're the ones who chased out the Jews. You saw it was a terrible thing to watch. Now, in the next tshuva we're going to see next week, Rav Suriel described the unfortunate situation, how bad it was that the Hitnatkut happened, the disengagement. How many Jews were left homeless, their livelihoods destroyed. And he was talking about how many Jews were actually uprooted from Gush Katif. and the surrounding the Gaza areas. How many Jews total? Maybe up 10,000. That's it. I don't know. I don't think there were 20,000 Jews in Gaza at the time of the Hitnat It was actually quite small. We talked about this. And how many Jews lost their lives through this direct Hitnat? None, right? There was no bloodshed involved. But of course, we know, Rav Zuriel was writing then, this resulted in all the terror that we experienced from Gush Katif. From Gaza, what became the Hamas stand. Now, Rav Zuriel was writing this 18 years ago. He didn't see what happened shortly after he passed away. Okay, a month after he passed away, and a few weeks, not even 2 months after he passed away, that's when Shmini Atzeres happened. So Rav Zuriel was crying about the future bloodshed, and about how many people lost their homes and what happened. Kal v'chomer, how greatly he would have been pained about what happened recently. Not only that, what happened afterwards? What was the immediate aftermath of the beginning of this war? What happened up north? Another Hitnat. But this time, what happened? You guys notice something about this Hitnat up north? It was done with a lot less fanfare. And how many Jews were chased away from there? Not 10,000, 100,000, right? 100,000 Jews homeless, and everybody knows. Like some people are saying, don't leave. The army is just using it as a ploy because there is a conspiracy going on just to remove Jewish people from their homes and destroy Jewish communities. We're seeing that this is happening now. Up north, I was on the line this past Friday. We're going to talk about that also on Shabbos. I was hearing the booms. I spent Shabbos right, south of Kiryat Shmona. What's happening to Kiryat Shmona today? It's being destroyed, house by house, by rockets, and also being taken over by wild animals. The people there picked up and went because the army told them to. They saw the Hitnat was, the Gaza disengagement was a practice, okay, a trial run to see would Jews go along with this. And they did. And like the first Hitnat this previous Hitnat was, hold on 1 second, this previous Hitnat was perpetrated by who? By whom? Sorry, perpetrated by whom? By Jews. By Jews. So, Kal v'chomer, Rav Zuriel would have been greatly pained by what we've seen, but we barely resisted it. It's a terrible, terrible thing. We have to keep this in mind as Av comes to a close. I think that it was a part of God's chesed that he didn't make Rav Zuriel stick around to see this, just like God brought the flood after the Shiva for Methuselah was over. So too, God brought this flood after the Shloshim of Rav Zuriel had passed, because it would have been terrible for him to see his Kal v'chomer. So still, just speaking about him even today, kind of makes me feel very saddened again by his passing. He was a great man. He was very good to people. I think he was irreplaceable. I was only today that I realized. Today I understand the Yetzer Hara that people have to go pray at graves. It's a kind of weird thing. There are people who go to graves all the time, and even people who violate the prohibition of idolatry, they pray to the deceased, right? To the tzaddik, to the rabbi, to whoever. You're not supposed to do that. What?
Your own is your own thing.
Yeah, well, you're not. Look, if you go there to daven, that's fine. If you go there, it's not fine. But it's not. If you daven to Rashbi, that's a problem, right? How many people are doing things like that? Yeah, that's also bad. That's also forbidden.
It's the same thing as yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't the point of Rachel like if you just stop and daven Rachel Shekil Hashem?
Yeah, that's not an ancient Jewish thing.
What?
That's not an ancient Jewish thing.
I'm saying like you're allowed to daven place that.
Yeah, you're allowed to daven in a place. I said you don't daven to the thing. You do not ask anything of the deceased. Okay, that's halachic. If you find midrashic or kabbalistic ideas about that, you have to differentiate between that and halal. Either way, it's a Yetzer Hara. There are Jews who have such a Yetzer Hara. It's only today I understand that Yetzer Hara. Okay, and a smidgen of Yetzer Hara, but just because you have Yetzer Hara for something doesn't mean it's actually good to do.